guys, it's Red Lightning. Welcome to episode 2 of Life. Okay, as you know, if you're still new, this weekly show will be about God, because I'm a devoted Christian, and verse of the week, and also I'll start explaining what it means, but also I'll start off with a Christian song of the week, and also then the verse of the week, then I talk about a childhood Christian thing I did. I will talk about episodes of VeggieTales or shows or episodes of those shows or old Christian shows. So let's start with the Christian song of the week. Christian song of the week is the Breakup Song by Francesca Bellistelli. I think this song is actually perfect for this time because she talks about how the fear is like she's breaking up with fear. Like, fear you don't own me. I forgot the rest. I don't know why I forgot the rest really easily. But she breaks off with fear and saying the fear would no longer control her. And I just really love that song and helps me feel more braver against this virus. If I continue wearing the mask and in social distancing, we can get through this virus. Okay, now for the rest of the day. Okay, the rest of the day is Pavilion. I can't really say my words today. 2:13. Yes, it is God who is working in you. He helps you. You want to do what pleases Him, and He gives you the power to do it. And what that means, and what it means is in verse 12, Paul commands the Philippian Christians to work out their own salvation, meaning they are to put the truth of their belief into practice. What they are in Christ needs to be worked out through their actions and attitudes. The reason for this command is given here in the verse 13. God is acting through the lives of these believers. This understanding should lead the believers to a deep sense of awe and appreciation. Paul then adds two areas in which God operates in the life of the believer. First, God works in us to will His good pleasure. This includes the idea of placing desire or leading a believer to serve the Lord. Second, God works in us to work for His good pleasure. God's Spirit is in the believer gives both the desire and the strength to live for the Lord. Work appears as a common theme in this letter. Philippians 1:16, 2:12, 25:34 agree. The idea of His good pleasure involves obedience. Philippians 2:12, according to God's Spirit. This is not a legalistic obedience of the law that Paul speaks against in the false teaching of the circumcision group, but rather obedience based on a love for God based on the Spirit living within the believer. Sorry, I'm starting on my chair. I hope you have the inspiration from the verse. Now, let's move on to the Christian section, or the Christian childhood thing. Today I'll be talking about another episode of VeggieTales. This one's called God Wants Me to Forgive Them. Okay. Sorry, my computer's glitching out. Here we go. My laptop, my computer. Okay, the plot of this is on the countertop. Bob tells Larry that he ran into a friend of theirs named Marco after walking home from his bowling league. Marco had a question for both Larry and Bob. He said that when his little sister makes him mad and says she's sorry, their mom says he needs to forgive her. But Marco does not understand why his mom would say that. Larry then tells the story of the grapes of wrath. Can't really say it. Then they move on to the grapes of wrath section, like a little forgot the name. One day, a wrathful group of cranky grapes named Paul Grape, Ma Grape, Tom Grape, and Rosie Grape are riding around in their car. They are grapes that live in their lives live their lives, insulting and upsetting people. After Paul Gray runs into a tree stump and launches Tom and Rosie out of the car, Rosie spots a Junior Asparagus outside his house playing. They begin to assume that he is a bean wearing cheese on his head. Junior then speaks up saying he is asparagus and that he isn't wearing cheese on his head but a yellow hat. He takes off his hat, exposing his hair. The Grapes begin to mock him, saying that he glued peas to his head, which upsets him dearly. That asparagus comes out, and Junior tells him the situation. He then tells the Grapes that what they done is mean and it hurts people feelings when they are insulted. Grapes apologize for their wrongdoing, and Dad asks Junior forgive them. The Grapes, after their sincere apology, Junior forgives the Grapes, and Dad tells Junior to come inside for dinner. Tom and Rosie, overhearing Junior's name, begin to laugh and make fun of his name. Grumpy and enraged, Junior comes to confront Tom and Rosie, but hits a gardening hoe, which makes fall back into his toy truck, which then rolls into his sandbox, making Junior fly up in the air and land in the sandbox. This causes Tom and Rosie to laugh some more, but makes Dad Asparagus, Paul, and Ma Grape not happy with them. After Tom and Rosie apologize again, Bob and Larry interview, I forgot the word, in the story and say that Junior forgives the Grapes again. Junior is unwilling to forgive the Grapes after insulting his name, but the Grapes are really sorry again, and Larry mentions that when we offer God a friend God and we say sorry to him, he will forgive us no matter what. Junior then asks Bob and Larry how many times he needs to forgive the Grapes. Unknown how many times to forgive someone, Bob and Larry go to Quickly, which is a computer where they get their verse of the day or something like a verse from on how many times we need to forgive them according to the Bible. Quilty pulls out Matthew 18:22. Jesus answers, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7." Bob and Larry don't know the answer, and ask everyone from the story what the answer is, and Rosie says we need to forgive 490 times. Junior then forgives the Grapes. The Grapes say that they will change their name since they are no longer be mean. Dad Asparagus that suggests that they should be called the Grapes are Math after Rosie's great math skills. The Grapes are happy with their new name. They drive off to share their niceness with the world, while Junior and Dad go inside the house for dinner. Okay, that was their first section. After the story ends, Bob congratulates Larry on the story, but asks him if that is actually how the story goes. Larry says yes and winks at him. Then they have a silly song, as always, the Forgive-O-Matic. This episode doesn't include... Oh wait, no. Never mind, it doesn't have a silly song. It was actually a commercial which they replaced a silly song with. Okay, this episode doesn't include a silly song, but it has a commercial. Hosted by Scallion1 instead. In this commercial, Scallion1 is dressed as a salesman and tells the audience, Bob, Larry, and Junior, who are obviously watching the advertisement on a off-screen TV set, that misdeeds called sin needs to be forgiven. He then introduced the Forgive-O-Matic from the company of Ronco, an invention that supposedly forgives your sin when you use the dial and hit the button. He also says customers who order while the advertisement is still running would receive a set of searchable knives. to prove so. He has a potato who works as a miner from the West Virginia say by honestly reading off an off-screen reading card despite not having eyes. He and his co-workers dug through solid granite with steak knives, and they were still going strong. All of a sudden, Junior comes on stage, the sprite leaving the countertop, leaving Bob and Larry perplexed, and tells the Scallions that he knows a lot of people who have been forgiven without Scallion's product. He says that if we ask God for forgiveness, then he will forgive us, knowing that no one will buy his product after what Junior said. Skeleton announces other dubious captivities about the product, and even introduce a Chia Forgive-O-Matic. Junior tells Skeleton 1 to say goodnight as the lights go out. Skeleton 1 chases after Junior but trips over the cart that holds the Chia Forgive-O-Matic. Then they go to the last section that for some reason just stops after. It's called Larry's Lagoon. One day, the two friends had a great guest booked a 3-hour tour where there was a professor, who was played by Dag Asparagus, a billionaire played by Archibald Asparagus, and his wife. There was going to be a movie star and some other girl, but they canceled. After they do an introduction dance for their guests, Bob and Larry begin their tour. As they are out at sea, Bob asks Larry if he could take the wheel while he checks on the guests. So I'm thirsty. Okay, as Larry takes the wheel, he begins to daydream of being a Russian ice-breaking captain by the name of Larry Romvy. He imagines that the two great whales stuck in ice, and his only way of saving them are smashing through an iceberg. Suddenly, Bob breaks the daydream by asking Larry if he wants a snow cone. Suddenly, Larry rams the boat into a rock, thinking it's an iceberg. Oh, sorry, my throat. As everyone is launched from their boat and onto a nearby tropical island, everyone becomes upset with Larry and asks him why would he smash the boat. Larry states he did because of his daydream. Soon the boat sinks, leaving everyone with no means of transportation, causing the crew to hold a grudge. Later that night, everyone makes bamboo huts as a living quarters. As Larry lies in his hammock at night, he tells Bob on the island isn't so bad. Bob very grumpily tells Larry that everyone's stuck in the island with no way home. Larry asks for Bob's forgiveness, but Bob says it's not good enough. Angered and hurt with everyone, Larry leaves the campsite and finds a way off the island. The next morning, everyone wakes up to find no sign of Larry. Soon, the professor comes back with a catapult that would supposedly fling everyone back home. He demonstrates by using a coconut. He flings the coconut, which hits Bob, who is on a palm tree looking for Larry. It makes him fall into the millionaire's hut. Bob is grumpy for the professor's catapult, while the millionaire is grumpy with Bob for destroying his hut. The professor asks Bob for forgiveness, while Bob asks the millionaire for forgiveness. Both men forgive each other, but soon they remember Larry asked for forgiveness about the vote, but they wouldn't do so. Realizing that they let Larry down, the gang head out through the entire island to search for Larry. As they find him on the other side of the island, they see Larry made a small raft and trying to head back home by himself. They say sorry, which makes him come back. They also ask for forgiveness for not forgiving him. Larry forgives the gang, and suddenly a voice echoes out. The voice belongs to a palm tree named Palmy. and begins to sing a song about forgiveness. I don't really remember how the song goes. Like, I love it, but it's very hard to remember how it goes. Suddenly, the professor comes around with a helicopter he invented. Everyone climbs up the helicopter ladder and they fly home. Larry tells Bob that next summer they will sell lemonade like everyone else. Then the show ends after the episode ends there. Well, that's all the time we have today. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something from it. And besides, you're gonna be seeing some words in 3, 2, 1.